And I, thinking this morning in Genesis 1, this world was without form and it was void. Darkness is up on the earth. Nothing but a complete chaos. And when this world was in that condition, the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water, and the entire picture was changed from a total chaos to a Garden of Eden. That's transforming power of God that can take something that's nothing and make something wonderful out of it. God's transforming power.
Amram, we just listened to the message. God's power to transform. And we saw how God transformed this earth when it was void and blackness and darkness was on the face of the earth, and God transformed it into this beautiful Eden here. So now we're going to take a look at what happened after God created everything and He took a little rest. Let's take a look at what happens.
Then came in the enemy. God gave power to transform, and I'm going to call this fella with power not to create again, but he had power to deform. Not transform, but to deform.
Now, in these 6,000 years, the devil has formed, not created, but deformed God's whole earth. His creatures, the animals, interbreeding, hybriding, trees, plants, human, even to religion. And Brother Branham tells us that God has the power to transform, but the devil has power to deform. Deform. And that is to take what God has already created and deform it and make it into something different.
But to make this point, I wanted to give you my analysis of what Satan done in Eden. Spraying. Horrible. Poison. Spray.
Oh, no.
Would you like to know what that spray was? I can tell you, I got the formula of it. 2 words. Unbelief. Which is contrary to faith. Sprayed unbelief, doubt. And science filled its place. Where the cavities that went into the seed, Satan filled that cavity with knowledge and science and civilization. And it's deformed the whole entire creation of God. But Satan sowed the creepers, called science, research, education.
This is what Satan Eden produced. Chaos. But look at this. Watch what Brother Branham said. One day, when the world was again in all kinds of religions, washing pots and wearing different robes and bonnets and so forth, it lay in the midst of utter chaos. He, God, was made in human flesh to save that chaos time. So Jesus came in a time when there was chaos, just like when the Spirit of God moved upon the darkness and then he created it back into something good. Now Jesus came in the middle of that chaos again. And He came and He died for us to take them out of that chaos. And then God Himself, proving that in the last days, before the world's history would end, that God would manifest Himself again in human flesh. He gave a promise that in the last days, when it's going to be in a chaos again, that Jesus will come again in human flesh to take us out of this chaos. Hear what Brother Branham says. In this deformity chaos that we're in, God has sent His transforming power, His word, vindicated, proven, to bring us out of this religious deformity. That's right. Because Brother Branham said, true predestinated believers will stay with the word. Stay with the word, because they are part of that word. Now, just as all the seed that God put on the earth had power in itself to transform itself, Now the word that God has given us has power in itself to transform us into what God wants us to be. That's why we must always feed on God's original seed. What is this?
Tablet.
Capital tablet. So Brother Branham says, this original seed, God's original seed, plant it in your heart if you want to go in a rapture. And we want to go in a rapture. And that's why this is one of the most important things in our lives. Because this is God's original seed. God's original message spoken by the messenger himself. And that, when you plant this in our heart, this can make us ready for the rapture. So this is God's transforming power to take us from chaos into sons and daughters of God, ready for the rapture. So we really enjoy God's power to transform. And now we understand why it is that we always love to listen to Brother Branham. Because that's God's original seed. That's a transforming power.
Yeah.